The chain on phone footage at the apartment door. Late. The security chain lifts a centimeter under no hand and settles. Across the peephole lens, a clean palm blooms in fog and slides exactly 1 inch. From the hallway, a slow, careful voice not rooted to any speaker says, "Don't. Unchain. You've been alone 3 nights in your aunt's apartment while she's out of state. 25th floor, tight corridor. Door with a deadbolt and a chain, the super calls sentimental. Your job is simple. Water to plants. Feed a cat that decided to live elsewhere, accept 1 grocery delivery that came early, and keep the chain on. Extra rules in your aunt's handwriting on the fridge. Dante answer, Knox you can T-source. Do. Don't go into the service stairwell alone, and if the building app offers a quick unlock, say no." She drew a smiley face like it was folklore. The smile doesn't stick. The place has the sound's temporary homes keep fridge motor that watches you breathe. Air vent that edits the wind. At 10:51 p.m., the DYMO labeler on the counter chirps and feeds a strip you didn't ask for. Do not unchain. Along the edge in ghost gray that isn't the hour. 3:13 a.m. You stick the strip to the inside of the door because paper turns rules into objects. On the building's app, a pale banner you didn't summon drifts into the corner. Hallway camera available. It offers a single arrow you don't press. When you glance through the peephole, the fisheye gives you the empty corridor, late night blue. Your face lags a half beat in the glass, and behind your shoulder a second head leans toward your left ear. Mouth parted, on the first half of don't, you blink until glass remembers it owes you less imagination. The intercom clicks. A small throat clearing and gives you a voice lowered into the room with both hands. Dante, open. Not your aunt, not the super. The museum voice cities lend to bones. You say copy to the doormat because speaking makes walls hold still. You make a plan like a person on a slope. You won't finish. 1 blanket folded in a square that fits a lap. Your aunt's cat never shows for the census. The phone on the table buzzes where it shouldn't live. Unknown. Confirm unlock at 3:13. The tiny map sits inside the apartment, then behind your chair. You hold the power button until mercy. The lock screen flashes 3:13 and blushes back to now like a muscle twitch in glass from the other side of the door. 2 knuckles touch, wood measured, polite, not the building settling. Tap tap. The chain's bracket breathes in its screws. You lie to yourself with words people use when the room is trying to learn your pulse. In the kitchen, the extractor fan, the vent, and the building's distant elevator align into one long-held note that slides a ruler under your ribs. In that chord, the chain lifts a fraction and remembers shame when your palm finds wood and says no like bedtime. You text your aunt? All good? The little bubble returns a second late wearing 3:13, and then the real hour like it remembered to be embarrassed. Printer's old. She sends the supervisor spell you use for nights that deserve a priest. You check the hallway through the door lens again because eyes like chores. The peephole fogs a perfect palm from the corridor side. 5 long ovals and a heel slides exactly 1 inch and thins. Your hand rises on your inside and finds the wood opposite, through door and cold. Pressure match is present, not pushy as if a hand through material agrees you both exist. You take your hand away slowly like you're backing out of a photograph. The building app brightens under your thumb, even though you didn't touch it. The banner has learned a new voice. Delivery window reopened, allow entry. No arrows left or right. Points down, toward the chain. You turn the phone face down. It's black remembers shapes anyway. The apartment smells like a lemon you cut yesterday to teach the trash can humility. On the couch, you arrange yourself into a shape that a long night will accept. The bedroom door across the hall stays ajar by exactly the angle you left it. For 1 frame on your phone's selfie camera is too dark, the way rooms get when they remember basements. Then it returns to weak lamp and dust. You write quiet night on a note card because adults cut paper into belief. The ink looks wet longer than pens deserve. The DYMO chirps and raises another strip. Damp at the edge as if letters could sweat. Keep the chain on. You press it above the other one like doubling a rope is a spell. From the hall, a whistle. to clean notes at the pitch you recall from the building's fire drills, landing a half beat late like an echo with ambition. You don't answer? The intercom helps. Leave. Closed. Careful is the last thing a teacher says before the bell. You lean to the peephole because the body insists. The corridor yawns a little wider inside the fisheye and remembers architecture. At the far end, the service door opens its mouth a polite inch and stops as if someone were waiting to be invited in. The floor indicator above it considers 13 between 12 and 14 and keeps the thought at 11:19 p.m. The building finds a tone you can set a metronome by. Fridge, vent, elevator, ribs aligned. In that breath, the chain raises a centimeter in slow motion like a dog learning whether it will be forgiven, and finds its manners when you say no aloud to a rectangle of wood. The peephole drafts another higher palm and slides it 1 inch for the record. You print a sign because signs are harmless spells. After midnight, chain stays on. The blue painter's tape breathes like a small lung and holds. Your aunt's wall clock has the posture of a kind liar. The minute hand moves to the place people ask it to symbolize. On your phone, a message arrives with a familiar name and the wrong grammar. For Mom, I'm outside. She lives 3 states away. You answer with a picture of the chain and a word your family is used to sit dogs down. Stay. The ceiling changes its mind about what kind of winter it wants to rehearse. The service door at the end of the hall takes an inch, reconsiders, becomes loyal again. To knocks, exact and patient, tap the door wood left of center, then right of the peephole and stop, like punctuation learning a sentence. You make tea because cups are measured bravery. The kettle window shows steam learning cursive, then forgetting. At 11:31, the lobby camera in the app refuses to load. Then opens to a field of chaff falling slow past the lens. Like a harvest forgot who owns gravity. The next second obeys, becomes tile and a plant that learned to be a bush under fluorescent sunlight. The intercom click opens its careful mouth for mercy. Keep the fire on. You sit on the floor with your back against the door like a person becomes furniture to remind furniture who's boss. The vent teaches air to stack. Your scalp remembers how to count. The night is a polite intruder. From the peephole, light darkens by a percentage that matters to things with eyes. A head leans near no face you can claim. Only the tilt to your left ear and a mouth prepared to say the first half of Dante, practicing the vowel-like breath is hardware. The frame after that restores corridor. At 11:49, your phone captures a photo you didn't ask for. The door from above your head. Your shoulders bowed under tape-in signs. The clock insistently showing 3:13 where numbers should be dry. No caption. The photo rolls its own shadow across you and then stops behaving like weather. The supertext's from a number labeled doors. Chain okay. You answer mostly. The typing indicator does the guilt dance. Its reply reaches you wearing the hour it didn't live in, and then the one it did. Printer's old, he writes without irony. Something maps the chain bracket with knuckles, measured left to right. Tapped along the screws. The peephole writes one more palm, a thumb width higher than your mouth can fog, and slides its inch, like surgery measured in breaths. Midnight arrives without a wardrobe change. The building continues to be a plume of heat moving through arithmetic. Someone upstairs laughs as if they were allowed to, a sound edited of vowels. You're right. Quiet night again because repeating a lie turns it into a theme song. At 12:06 a.m., your upstairs neighbor drops a book without apologizing to gravity. The ceiling forgives after a grunt. Down the hall, the elevator arrives for no one and opens its mouth like a person trying to remember a word. Its floor display includes 13 again, as if it had learned the new math. The doors close with the courtesy of closing your phone. Asleep, learns to light itself. Unknown. One free unlock remaining. The banner sits there like a dare. You set the phone on the opposite counter. It brightens enough to put a glow on the kettle and then remembers dark. You walk to the bathroom because small rooms let lungs change gears. The mirror fogs in the dry air a palm, prints itself a thumb width higher than your breath could reach, slides exactly 1 inch, and thins to nothing. You tell your face a joke you forgot the punchline to. and it lets you have the first laugh. Back at the door, the building tries new grammar. The fire panel in the hallway coughs a dutiful beep and shows a code that IS&T in the laminated sheet. The intercom runs the careful lullaby one last time, as if the number itself needed a bed. Don T, go down. The only down from here is the service stairwell, where light becomes a rumor. You fall asleep sitting up with your hand on the door because bodies negotiate with nights the way stones negotiate with rivers. The door breathes against your skin like an old friend who didn't know you were there. You wake to the sound of keys you didn't give anyone. The deadbolt minds its job. The doorknob turns anyway under the hand no one rented. The chain takes a little weight and shrugs it like shoulders that have decided they won tea help. Tap tap. Polite. Exact. The voice that has been careful for you arrives as if your aunt had folded it in her handwriting and left it on the fridge. Keep the chain. On between then and 3:13, minutes move with dignity. Your tea dares you to remember heat. The kettle's reflection in the oven door shows a head leaned near your left ear again, mouth parted on don't, then decides to be steel. 3:13 sits down like a rumor that found a chair. Every small indicator blinks once and holds the green thread in the stove clock. The little dot on the smoke detector, the app's quiet heartbeat. The building takes one long breath through vent and pipe and wire and ribs and lets it go. On the peephole lens and the inside curve of the knob's chrome, two perfect palms bloom facing one another and slide together 1 inch before thinning to memory. The chain doesn't lift. The door doesn't forget. The intercom gives you its last kindness in that slow museum wait. Keep the chain. The app forgets quick unlock exists and remembers it as a calendar again. Dawn rehearses itself across the high-rises and commits. You text the super, then your aunt, who shows with coffee and the posture of a man who argues softly with bolts for a living. Quiet? Asks, which is how people who count nights ask if you left the world unaltered. Mostly you say, and show him the strips. He frowns at do not unchain and keep the chain on like they re-regulations he wishes he de-written before he believed in them. Printer's old, he decides. The building's absolution for phenomena you cannot requisition. He raps the door with 2 knuckles and listens like a doctor to a sternum. Nothing a ledger would fund answers back. We'll take a look, he says. Daylight will feel like being taller. By noon, with the super and a neighbor to witness. The chain slides off under sunlight that means it. The door opens as doors do when physics is invited. The hallway is only a hallway. On the metal of the chain's bracket, in tiny gray pencil none of you owns, a sentence waits where no hand could write comfortably. Leave the chain on. The letters look pressed up from the other side, as if a hand wrote them through metal. You trade some nights for afternoons and tell people it's for your spine. Some weeks around 3:13, your apartment radiator knocks twice like polite fingers on wood. And the bathroom mirror fogs a thumb width higher than you can reach while a palm clears a coin and slides a patient inch. Your phone lights itself to unknown. Free, unlock. Gets bored when you don't. When it asks in other ways, you keep your hands off latches that pretend affection. You don't answer knocks that arrive a beat late and wear good manners. You don't go down to stairs that remember your name. In the voice this door taught you, steady and small, you say, keep the chain on. For a long, thin moment. The room hums one note like a building deciding to be kind. A head leans by your left ear and practices the first half of don't, and then the pipes remember water, the hour gives back the number it borrowed. And whatever was learning your thresholds a half beat behind you, chooses someone else. Hallway and leaves yours to daylight labels that stick and doors that mean it. Keep the basement door locked. Home security cam points down a dark hallway. The basement doorknob turns a 1/4 inch, stops. On the frosted glass of the tiny basement window, a clean palm blooms and slides 1 inch. Through the baby monitor you left on the counter, a slow, careful voice that isn't anyone you know says don't. Unlock. I told myself I was just housesiting, not training night to love me. Ranch-style place, cul-de-sac, quiet, half-finished basement, the realtor called potential. I'm 25, alone for the week, while my friend and her partner do a long weekend upstate. My job is simple. Bring in the mail, water the pothos that has decided to be a curtain, feed a dog who keeps deciding he lives somewhere else, and keep the basement door locked. Extra rules written on the fridge in her handwriting. Don't answer scratching. Don't go down the basement stairs after dark. And if the home app offers a quick unlock, say no. She drew a smiley face like folklore, and the smile didn't stick. The house is the kind of quiet that has details: fridge motor, HVAC size, the water heater rehearsing distant thunder. At 10:53 p.m., the DYMO labeler on the coffee table stutters awake under its own will and feeds out a strip with no tape with code, no margins, just do not unlock. Along the ragged edge, ghost gray digits that aren't the hour, 3:13 a.m. I stick it on the white paint above the basement knob because paper gives rules weight. The first odd thing is polite. 2 knuckles touch the door from the other side, tap tap, measured, not wood settling. I check the ring feed on my phone.
The hallway is empty. The infrared turns the dust into a weather report. My reflection in the brass lamp throws itself back at me a half-beat late, and over my left shoulder a second head leans toward my ear. Mouth parted on the first half of don't. I blink until brass remembers it is decoration, not a witness. The home app lights without my thumb. A banner floats up like it knows it shouldn't be there. Basement entry available. That offers a single arrow I don't touch. I flip the phone face down. It warms my palm like a small animal trying to have an opinion.
The baby monitor on the island, still paired from my friend's last attempt to sleep train the dog, clicks. Opens its little throat and sets a voice in the kitchen that has never owned lungs. Don't open. Not my friend. Not the neighbor. The museum voice cities keep for labeling bones. I say copy out loud to the microwave door because glass makes words sit up straight. I do what hands understand. Wash the 2 dishes I didn't mean to leave, or fill the dog bowl in case someone comes home to it. The fridge, the vent, and the water heater align into one steady note like a ruler pressed under ribs. In that held cord, the deadbolt on the basement door shivers a millimeter, sleeper scratching. My palm finds wood and I say no, like bedtime. The phone buzzes where it shouldn't live. Unknown. Confirm unlock at 3:13. The tiny map sits inside the basement and behind my chair. Then I hold the power button until mercy. The lock screen flashes 3:13 and decides to be honest again. In the security cam, the little basement window, the kind with daylight ambitions, and a spider that pays rent fogs on the inside. A palm blooms, slides 1 inch thins. My hand rises toward the door without asking me first. I let it find the wood 2 inches above the lock. Through door and cool. Pressure matches present, not pushy as if a hand through material agrees we're sharing an object. I text my friend, all good. The bubble that carries my words returns with a time stomp that wears 3:13 for a breath. And then the real hour, like it didn't mean to. Printer's old, she writes. The supervisor spell you use when a night is pretending to be a glitch. I write quiet night on a post-it because adults cut paper into spells. The ink looks wet longer than pens are allowed. The labeler exhales another strip into my hand, edges damp like letter sweat. Keep the basement door locked. I press it over the first one until the words make a stack. Something scrapes along the underside of the door, the careful kind, like a spoon along a jar you're trying not to wake. I repeat the fridge rule out loud so the room has no excuse later. Dante answers scratching. The dog does a drive-by at the sliding glass door, like a regret wearing fur, decides against being in the story and leaves. The porch light gives him a brief halo and then learns to be an appliance again. From the baby monitor, soft whistle rides into notes at exactly the pitch my friend uses to call the dog when the backyard has stolen, him landing a half-beat late like a copy with ambition. I do not answer. The monitor provides a correction in that careful library wait. Leave. Closed. My fingers find the knob anyway because bodies practice mistakes. The cold there is a different temperature than the kitchen learned. On the other side of the door, the knocking returns. 2 knuckles, exact to my pulse, left of center. Then at the hinge. In the ring feed, the hallway remembers how to be hallway. For one frame, the lens sees a head lean near, tilted toward my left ear, mouth an oval around don't. The next beat obeys drywall. I print a sign because signs are secular magic. After dark, door stays locked. The painter's tape breathes like a small lung against the paint and holds. The home app tries a new outfit. Moisture detected in basement suggests airing. There is no arrow to upstairs or out. There is only down. I kill Wi-Fi at the router because faith sometimes needs pliers. At 11:19 p.m., the house chooses to be quiet again. Fridge, vent, water heater, the line of power down the street that always wants to be avowal-aligned. In that tone, the deadbolt nudges against its keeper and learns shame when I say no, in the voice you use when a dog knows roads but likes tests. At! The microwave door shows me my face lifting into the warp of its tinfoil physics. Behind my left shoulder, that head keeps practicing the first half of don't. The microwave decides to be a mirror again. The labeler gives me a third strip like a saint card. Don't acknowledge scratching. I tuck it into the jam where my hand will trip on it before anything stupider can happen. In the bathroom, the mirror fogs, although the room is the kind of dry that thinks towels are decorative. A palm blooms a thumb with higher than I can breathe and slides an inch. I don't touch it. Some agreements are one-time performances. I walk the hallway like a lifeguard who knows the pool is a rumor. The thermostat picks a number because it thinks compromise is polite. The baby monitor shows a grayscale of my empty kitchen. For one frame, the video becomes chaff falling slow, as if harvest took a wrong door. Then pixels behave like wages. I make tea because kettles understand crisis in ounces. Steam writes cursive on the cabinet and forgets it. At 11:31 p.m., the basement doorknob rotates a quarter inch and stops, as if the lock just remembered it owes me a life. The little window fogs, another palm, and slides its inch. I put my hand to the wood again because mammals are old. Through that thickness, pressure matches and withdraws with manners. From the baby monitor, the careful voice gives me a bedtime rule as if the house had hired a docent. Keep the basement door locked. I nod, like I'm in a church where nodding is currency. The next text is from a name I should have recognized and didn't. Neighbor Claire. Her sentence wears the wrong grammar. I'm in your basement locked out, can you open? The map pin under the message sits behind my shoulder, then inside the door, then refuses to exist. Claire is in Florida until Tuesday. I send a photo of both labels and the lock. The typing bubble never learns to be words. The TV in the living room coughs one frame of snow like a ghost sneezed, and then remembers it has been unplugged all day. The house chooses to be patient. I match it. At 11:49 p.m., I realize I have been listening for my name. The house says nothing that wants me. The phone face down. Unhelpful learns a new party trick. Unknown sends a photo from my own angle. Me at the door with my hand on wood. The post sits in labels like a spell written by someone who doesn't trust ink. The clock in the upper corner insists on 3:13. The photo recedes to the part of the screen where memories go to pretend. I invent work. Windex a window at midnight, like contracts are for glass. Count the dining chairs, just a crooked frame that insists on showing me a face I dan. T-on in the glare, I write quiet night a second time, because repeating a lie makes it easier to believe. Midnight arrives without a costume change. A car out on the cul-de-sac sighs a bar of music and forgives itself. The house becomes boxes welded to boxes again. The labels curl their corners like shed skin. The sump pump in the basement throat clears water it has not seen. The noise is a polite throat being a throat. The little window fogs blooms another palm and slides that inch you could measure with a heartbeat. The baby monitor, gentle as a teacher closing a book, adds a last note before the famous hour rolls in. Don't go down. The only down from here is a staircase where light forgets its job midway, and the handrail maps a story no one should read alone. I sit on the floor with my back to the door because furniture works both ways. The wood hums a promise at my shoulder I decide to respect. Between then and 3:13. Minutes arrive with dignity and leave without receipts. The house edits noises into a list I could swear I've heard before. The lock behaves like metal that went to school. 3:13. Sits down like a roomer that found a chair. Every small indicator blinks once and holds the green thread in the stove clock. The dot on the smoke detector, the little heartbeat in the router I unplugged. The house takes one long breath through vent and pipe and wire and ribs and lets it go. On the frosted glass of the basement window and the glossy paint above the knob, two perfect palms bloom facing each other and slide together 1 inch before thinning to memory. The deadbolt doesn't twitch. The knob doesn't earn a verb. The baby monitor gives me its last kindness in that careful museum wait. Keep the basement door locked. The home app forgets basement entry available ever existed and remembers it as a calendar that owes me nothing. Oh. Dawn plays at the edges of the blinds and then commits. I text my friend. I text Claire. I text a version of myself that knew how to sleep. My friend's partner arrives at 6:40 with coffee in the stance of a person who can interview a door. Quiet? He asks, which is how people who count nights ask if I left the world unaltered. Mostly I say and show him the labels. He frowns at, "Do not unlock and keep the basement door locked," like they re policies he wishes he written before he believed in them. Printer's old. He decides the homeowner's absolution for phenomena that refuse plumbers. He raps the basement door with 2 knuckles and listens like a doctor to a sternum. "Nothing a ledger would fund answers. We'll open it at noon," he says. Sunlight's a kind of insurance. At noon. With him and a neighbor and a phone camera that thinks it is law, we turn the deadbolt and pull. The door opens like wood behaving. The basement is only a room, on the underside of the jam, in tiny grease pencil none of us owns. A sentence waits where no hand would write comfortably. Leave the door locked. The letters look pressed up from the other side, as if a hand wrote them through paint. I trade some nights for afternoons and tell people it's for my spine. Some weeks around 3:13, my apartment radiator knocks twice like polite fingers on wood, and the bathroom mirror fogs a thumb width higher than I can reach while a palm clears a coin and slides a patient inch. My phone wakes itself for unknown. Quick unlock, gets bored when I don't. When it asks in other ways, I keep my hands off handles that pretend affection. I don't answer, scratching that wears good manners. I don't walk downstairs that remember my name. In the voice this door taught me steady, Smalley say. Keep the basement door locked. For a long, thin moment, the room hums one note, like a house deciding to be kind. A head leans by my left ear and practices the first half of don't, and then the pipes remember water. The hour gives back the number it borrowed. And whatever was learning my thresholds a half beat behind me chooses someone else. Steps and leaves mine to daylight labels that stick and a lock that keeps its promises. Keep the window latched nightstand, phone camera stares at a bedroom window. The latch turns a hair under no hand, then stops. On the glass, a clean palm blooms in fog and slides exactly 1 inch from the white noise machine. A slow, careful voice that isn't in the playlist says, "Don't unlatch." I told myself I like this apartment because it's higher than weather. 6th floor end unit, the kind of street light that makes the room a bowl of gray. I'm 25, home alone for nights while my roommate travels. My job is simple. Water her succulents. Ignore the empty birdcage someone left in the storage closet, and keep the windows latched. Extra rules texted from the gatekeeping side of her personality. Don't answer tapping. Don't mess with the fire escape. And if the home app suggests fresh air, say no. She added a smiley like it was folklore. The smile didn't stick. The apartment's quiet, has signatures fridge, baseboard heat. The transformer outside rehearsing one note at 10:52 p.m. The DYMO labeler on the bookshelf wakes without my thumb and exhales a strip with no margin codes. No adjust. Do not unlatch. Along the ragged edge, ghost gray digits that aren't the hour. 3:13 a.m. I stick it above the window latch because paper makes rules heavier. The first odd thing is polite. To knuckles tap the pain measured, not a pipe popping. I look. The glass throws my face back a half beat late with a second head behind my left shoulder. It's tilted toward my ear. Mouth parted on the first half of don't. I blink until glass remembers its job. The home app brightens by itself. Banner sidles into the corner like a dare. Air quality excellent, recommend. Opening bedroom window. The arrow points down to the latch. I turn the phone face down. It stays warm in my palm like a small thing planning something. The white noise machine clicks no track change and gives me a voice the room seems to lower into place with both hands. Don T. Open, not my roommate. Not a neighbor. The museum voice cities keep for labeling bones. I say copy to the wall because saying it makes the room choose a shape. I rinse a mug because hands are good at lying. The fridge, the heat, and the transformer outside align into one long-held note that pushes a ruler under my ribs in that chord. The latch moves a millimeter, asleep or scratching, then remembers shame when I set my palm to glass and say no, like bedtime. The phone buzzes where it shouldn't live. Unknown, confirm event at 3:13. The tiny map sits inside my bedroom, then behind my chair. Then, hold the power button until mercy. The lock screen flashes 3:13 and gives the hour back like a dog surrendering a glove. I text my roommate all good. The bubble comes back wearing the wrong time for a breath, then apologizes. Printer's old, she types, which is the supervisor spell you use when a knight refuses invoices. On the glass, a palm blooms from the outside. 5 ovals and a heel, slides 1 inch, thins. I put my own hand to my side because mammals collect rituals. Through glass and cold, pressure match is present. Not pushy as if a hand through material agrees we both exist. I ease my hand away before the room can think I'm flirting. The security cam I use for the cat I dan. Tion throws a frame from the living room. Hallway, couch, the closet door with the empty birdcage. For one instant, the lens sees a head leaned near, tilted toward my left ear. Mouth and oval on don't. The next frame remembers IKEA. I write quiet night on a sticky note. Because adults cut paper into spells. The ink looks wet longer than it deserves. The DYMO purrs and passes me another strip. Edges damp like letters that sweat. Keep the window latched. I stack it under the first like doubling rope from the fire escape. Metal gives a polite tap, tap measured, left to right as if knuckles learned a route. The white noise machine adds its bedtime weight. Leave. It closed. I print a sign because signs are spells that don't mind being ugly. After dark, Windows stays latched. Painter's tape breathes like a small lung when I smooth it down. The thermostat screen blinks to a suggestion I didn't request. Sleep boost. Crack window for comfort. The arrow doesn't choose a direction. It chooses down. I pop the batteries because sometimes faith needs pliers. At 11:19 p.m., the transformer, the fridge, the heat, my ribs aligned. In that held note, the latch nudges a hair toward open and finds manners when I say no out loud to a rectangle that I send.
T.
A person. The pain fogs another palm, a thumb width higher than my mouth can breathe and slides its inch. On the glass's reflection, a tilted head stays where my left ear can pretend it has a friend and practices the first half of dawn. T. The light from the street wraps itself around the birdcage in the closet and makes bars where there shouldn't be bars. I close the closet door because doors are kindnesses you can do with furniture from inside. There's the sound of one wire deciding not to sing. The home app tries charm, pollen low, open now. The phone vibrates as if that mattered to wood. I move it to the bathroom. The mirror in their fogs without me prints a palm, a thumb width higher than I can reach. Slides an inch, vanishes. I don't touch it. Some agreements expire on first use. From the bedroom to knuckles knock the pain, exact to my pulse. I do not answer knocking. The white noise machine's track list remains what it ought to be. The speaker still finds time to say don't. Go out. The only out from here is a fire escape that pretends to be a ladder, but acts like a question. I scroll out of fear. The building forum is for posts about laundry etiquette, and one that reads like an apology. Window sensors chirped at 3:13 last Tuesday. Anyone else? No one else answers. Someone adds a laughing emoji that looks tired at 11:31 p.m. The street outside performs the long hoot a train loves, a note that knows how to flatten ribs. The window latch shivers and thinks better of learning verbs. The DYMO contributes a third strip like a Saint Metal. Don't acknowledge tapping. I tuck it into the sash where my hand will hit it before any idea can become a story. The camera pointed at the alley switches to night mode and catches a slow fall of chaff, not snow, not ash drifting past the fire escape like a harvest forgot which side of the world owns wind. The next frame is a wall again. The room leans into its own geometry. The rug recalls that it's a rectangle and not a continent. I sit on the bed with my back to the wall-like furniture is a team sport. At 11:49, the phone I abandoned in the bathroom learns to send itself. Photo. My bedroom from above my head, my shoulders hunched in a shape that makes sense to crisis the sign. Window stays latched, the clock insisting on 3:13 where it shouldn't live. No caption. The photo files itself like someone choosing a drawer. The white noise machine inhales. The careful voice spills into the room as if it were learning how to be warm. Keep the window latched. The fire escape answers with a lament the building didn't budget for. A neighbor's TV tries Snow for a frame and remembers its streaming subscription. The night acquires the patience of a person sitting on a suitcase. Midnight drops in without a costume change. The latch stays honest. The streetlight shifts one shade toward mercy. I write Quiet Night again because repeating a lie makes it a hymn. At 12:06 a.m., the home app grows bold in its sleep. Known pushes a request that pretends to be helpful. Fresh air credit expiring, open now. The map sits inside the window, then behind my shoulder, then dash. I yank the router's power and set it in a drawer where it's blinking, can practice alone. I make tea. The kettle draws cursive on the cabinet, then forgets everything it learned. In the glass, a palm blooms and slides 1 inch at the exact moment the kettle sighs. We agree to call that a coincidence and let it retire with a pension. I almost forget the birdcage until it remembers me. The closet door taps once, something metal. Polite as a teacher reminding you time is a thing. I lay 2 fingers on the wood. The door learns manners. 12:23 rides in, and the whole building decides to be one instrument again. Transformer. Heat fridge, ribs aligned into one long note that would be music if scales forgave. In that breath, the latch kisses the keeper and declines treason. The careful voice, gentled down to a naptime tone, adds its last mercy before the hour, with the reputation clocks in. Leave it closed. I set the phone back on the nightstand and sleep in the shape of a question mark. The window keeps its promise. The room edits my breathing for content. Between that moment and 3:13, minutes arrive with good posture and leave without receipts. Twice I hear a tapped up left of center. Then, over the latch measured like punctuation, learning a sentence. I match neither timing nor interest. 3:13 sits down with an old man's sigh and begs us all to pretend it's furniture. Every small indicator blinks once and holds. The green dot on the smoke detector, the pale bead on the power strip, the exit thread down the hall, I can't see from here and do anyway. The building takes one long breath through wires and pipes and walls and ribs and lets it go. On the glass and the shiny edge of the latch, 2 perfect palms bloom facing one another and slide together 1 inch before thinning to memory. The app forgets its banner. The thermostat forgets to sell me night air. The white noise machine speaks once more with museum weight. Keep the window latched. The latch behaves like metal that learned school. Dawn practices on the far bricks and then commits. My roommate FaceTimes from a hotel hallway with carpeting that wants to be a field. Quiet? She asks. Which is how people who count nights ask if you left the world unaltered. Mostly I say, hold up the labels. She frowns at do not unlatch and keep the window latched, like they read policies she should have written before she believed in them. Printer's old. She decides the tenant's absolution for phenomena that refuse maintenance. She wraps the frame with 2 knuckles through the phone and listens like a doctor to a chest by proxy. Nothing a ledger would fund answers. At noon, under the kind of square sunlight that makes lawyers nod, we unlatch the window 2 inches to show physics to nerves. The glass fogs one last palm and slides its inch from the pressure change, then surrenders to air. On the underside of the sash, in tiny grease pencil, neither of us can own. A sentence waits where no hand writes comfortably. Leave the window latched. The letters look pressed up from the other side, as if a hand wrote them through paint. A month later, I trade some nights for afternoons and tell people it's from my spine. Some weeks around 3:13, my apartment radiator knocks twice like polite fingers on glass. And the bathroom mirror fogs a thumb width higher than I can reach, while a palm clears a coin and slides a patient inch. My phone wakes to unknown. Breathe better open now. Gets bored when I don't. When it asks in other ways, I keep my hands off latches that pretend affection. I don't answer tapping that arrives a beat late and knows my pulse. I don't step onto fire escapes that remember my name. In the voice this window taught me steady, Smalley say. Keep the window latched. For a long, thin moment, the room hums one note like a building deciding to be kind. A head leans by my left ear and practices the first half of don't, and then the pipes remember water. The hour gives back the number it borrowed, and whatever was learning my thresholds a half beat behind me chooses someone else's glass and leaves mine to daylight. Tape that sticks, and a latch that keeps its promises.